So today I have Léo Soler. Is that right? Did I pronounce
Yeah,
your name right?
perfect.
Okay. Nice. How about you quickly introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself?
So I'm a young Fully artist, French, as you can hear, and I'm currently looking for a job in environment art in general, in cinema and in film and video game industry. It's been more than a year now that I'm looking for a first position, knowing that the both of the industry are kinda stuck and there are like many people. So I'm contacting Kai to have advices to bring my book to the next level and hopefully get a first job.
All right, sounds good. A quick question right away. I had a look at your portfolio at the beginning, just to know what I'm facing now. And you said that you're looking into like an environment position mostly, like not even related to games specifically or to film specifically, just generally an environment position. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. I won't say like I'm mainly focused on realism more than stylize, as you can see. And yeah, I'm really open to different jobs. I can do pretty much everything from modeling to integration in Unreal.
I've
And
seen that. I've seen that. I was quite surprised about like how broad your skill set is already, given that you're 23-year-old and like your work experience has been lighting artist, which is the most surprising thing to me when I saw your portfolio. Okay.
Yeah, I had the chance to work with Ubisoft during my studies for a 6 months internship. So yeah, it was a really interesting experience, but not really related to what I'm currently working on.
But given that, I want to quickly talk about like your posts about the crew, which has been what you did at Ubisoft, correct?
Yes.
So one thing that is really like benefiting you in the course of creating your portfolio is that you actually had the chance to learn lighting on a professional basis, because this is what most portfolios really lack. Like I've seen a lot of people with great talent, also great execution in their skills, like in that software, but having a huge gap in presenting it correctly or like interesting, even so that whoever is looking at it actually captures what you're capable of, right?
Yes.
So having a look at this, I was really pleased to see that whatever you learned, you actually are able to transition to other things related in your portfolio. Also, on a quick note, like these headlines, I've never seen anyone do this before, and I think it's super cool, and I will definitely adapt this.
What's the headline?
The headline here, like the very first image, like a banner.
Okay.
Coming from like also a community management and administrative background, I've created these lots and lots for Steam blog posts for any kind of news, and I didn't ever think about to include this in an actual artwork, but it's great because it's just such a brief introduction. It makes it easier to access like the whole artwork as a whole, because usually people start off with like a full frame 4K super image, flashy and colorful, which can be a little bit suppressing, you know. And this is actually quite easy to follow, and it gives a direction. I really like this idea, I gotta say. Right. So regarding your lighting contribution in the crew, for me, it's a little bit hard to really grasp how a whole team of lighting artists is working together to illuminate a scene. So I cannot really say what you did here, but I feel that just given that it looks good is like proof enough, you know?
Yeah, that was the point when I took the screenshot. I tried to mainly focus on what I've done, but in every image I didn't work on everything. So I tried to detail in the bottom of the image, like what I've really done. But it's a team job, so.
Yeah, but it's really cool. I like the idea of presenting it like this. Lots of motion to see, lots of videos. Makes it a little bit more dynamic because I feel like the screenshots themselves do not quite give away how good and well working together all the lighting has been done compared to when you showed in a video. So it's really good that you included it. Also, now that I think about it, speaking generally of your portfolio, it's really good that you included like the people you've worked with on this, or that gave you direction or something equally. A few reasons for this. Actually, it's just fair to give credits, but also for the algorithm when people try to get on your portfolio, this is like gold.
If they're looking for someone and they see your project.
I think, honestly speaking, it's a little weird that it works like this, because it's highly exploitable and it puts everyone behind who does not do it, right?
Yeah.
Because, well, that was weird. Could you quickly send me your portfolio again, like the link in the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I completely forgot to share my screen. I am so sorry. I should have told you this before.
Blindfolded review.
I thought I did this already, but explains now. Okay, so I was in this project, just for you to know. So yeah, what I actually wanted to show was to quickly search for Daniel Tiger, which might be like the most prominent person till date when it comes to materials. And the fascinating thing about the algorithm on ArtStation is that it's impossible for me to tell what of these artworks actually is from Daniel Tiger.
Yeah.
Because people just constantly put his name into the description and kind of mess with the algorithm, right? But yeah, speaking of that, not doing it is definitely putting you behind, especially if you have a close look at your current followership, and also like the quality you're providing in your portfolio. There's like this casual mismatch of being fairly new to the platform, having fairly few followers, to like people who have established their brand. Because people with a lot of followers can basically upload anything. Lots of followers going to like that, get the impression. This is going to push the stuff in the algorithm further.
Yeah, snowball.
And it's snowballing, right? So things like putting names in the description is actually quite important for like smaller accounts to get some leads and more people attracted to the portfolio. So good thing on that. Yeah, but let's start talking about materials, because you said like this is your focus currently, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to start with the mosaic because I had some thoughts to it. So first of all, it's really good. Like I would say the general approach and the general quality is beyond what I would expect from a junior in materials.
Okay.
But at the same time, even though it's well executed, we got like a vice versa strategy that's happening here, because your lighting is really good, but your texture at some point is lacking. And you can make up for that with good camera positioning and good lighting.
Okay.
Which is not a bad thing per se, given that most textures in games, specifically floor, usually are not seen from very up close. So this is proof of concept that it works. Okay. But like if we go a little bit into the material itself, I'm going to quickly take a screenshot here and get into Photoshop. There's a few things that I personally can spot right away, and that would probably make this a little bit better overall. So one thing I noticed here, and I have to check for your reference again. By the way, really good breakdown here. I like the different angles, the different lights, the GIF breakdown on the shapes you did. What is a little bit distracting is the color breakdown.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing, given like how your graph set up, it makes sense, but it's hard to follow.
Okay.
Because
I always come back to the beginning with another color.
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, like the more often you look at it, the more it makes sense, but it's still quite hard to follow where when color is applied.
Yeah, even for me, when I done it, I was like,
Yeah, but don't worry too much about it. Given that you just embedded it is a good thing. So what I noticed from your reference and what you did here is some like very strong, I don't know, like dust-like outline.
yeah.
And it's hard to really see where exactly that is applied, because from a different camera angle and a different light angle, as seen in the screenshots here, suddenly this effect is either gone or we are looking at a different portion of that texture. So the thing is, with your artwork, I can see this detail everywhere and it's uniform. And this is something that is directly off-putting, because every shape has this slight like AO outline, like every single shape. And this makes it look a little flat, because we have some very broad uniformity in scale and distribution. Also, given that you're trying to replicate the lighting a bit, which can, I think in one screenshot it's a little bit dull. Yeah, like here.
Yeah.
Like we're losing a lot of depth, which makes it look super realistic. But replicating this can be quite challenging if your texture isn't very well, because we are mostly reading color.
Okay.
And this is where your texture is falling apart looking close up, because also in these tiny pebbles here, oops, it's a little bit big, we can always see this dusty outline. Things that I would recommend is, first of all, break it up as much as you can. Blend thousands of noises, work with slow blurs, work with like, I don't know, some masking techniques to get rid of that most of the time, and make it more prominent in other parts. Just to be sure that we're not seeing this all the time, because it's for some reason it's too noisy. Another thing is your, let's call it grout. I don't know what the correct term is for when it's on the ground. But we can see from your reference here that we actually have like a lot of height differences and noise distribution inside the grout. Also like height differences in between those tiles. When I'm looking at your material here, I can see that you try to mimic the actual height scale, but at the same time you're keeping it uniform as well. So we don't have really height differences between the tiles and the grout, but we have very strong surface noise, which makes this even flatter, you know?
For this render, it's kind of strange because I use nanite tessellation for the height, and I'm pretty sure like in the first rendering, there is height. Here you can see it, but maybe it didn't work for the two last.
Yeah,
like he was disabled in the engine.
It looks
because it's really flat.
Yeah, that's true. In that case, I would recommend either getting rid of that screenshot or redoing it, because it's breaking with the quality of the rest. It's like, it can be seen here quite good. Also, in these specific screenshots, the surface noise is not so apparent because we're having that kind of offset. Although the grout is still, like, I mean, it's good for a material. If I didn't know the reference, I wouldn't mind it too much. But given that you're working close to the reference, we can see high discrepancies between your grout and this grout, you know? Also, given that most of the balance, when we're speaking of materials, comes from that the tiles making up like 90% of the actual material, basically have little to no surface noise or really strong damage. So the ground bears most of the noise, while your material currently has like more or less noise overall. You're trying to get there. It's good. It's really good. But the last step, we could say, the last masking and balancing, makes it a little bit off-putting. But it's still a very good material. Don't get me wrong.
That was like really, really hard because, like you said, when I took the reference picture, like from different lighting and camera angle, the texture was changing completely. Like I was looking to something to make a small detail, and then looking at another one reference, and it was like completely different. So it was really hard to deal with.
I can see that. I can see that. It's like it comes with the challenge of being used to doing this. I mean, you're still like new to this. I would say like having a few years of experience is great, but things like this you're only getting used to when you're working this for a very long time.
Okay.
So don't worry. This is just some classic things I see from people that are like, I'm saying, less experienced than like a principal or a senior that has been in this position for quite some years. But you're definitely showing that you can avoid usual things that juniors make. So I would put you like in the junior to intermediate position, given the quality of your materials. Right, so for this carpet, by the way, I had one note, and that was mainly that I was interested in the shader you made for this, or however you rendered it. Like, can you talk a little bit about this?
In Unreal Engine, I didn't think I changed many things in the Unreal shader. Maybe just there is no height, only normal, and I might have boosted the normal a little bit in Unreal, but not much, not many things. It's only roughness, base color, and normal map.
Okay. One thing we can actually right away see from your clay render here is, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It's basically the same thing that applies to your tiles. You have a very uniform noise that is also applied anywhere. I know for carpets or like very rough fabrics, this can indeed be, but there's a thing that comes down to how we can render fabrics or very fine detail compared to how the textures have to be authored. So my question relating your shader specifically was because having such a strong normal and uniform normal can work. It can work in like certain scenarios, but at the same time, you need to adjust your shader to not be so fully onto that normal. You have to either incorporate some fuzz. You maybe have to incorporate some sheen to at least at the very hard edges at the horizon get away from this surface noise. Either way, you have to somehow manage that the shader doesn't pick up so much on that very strong normal information that you're providing.
Okay.
Because for me, it's not feeling like carpets. Also, giving the actual scale reference that you have in here, it feels like this is really grainy and really hard, more like sandpaper, you know?
Okay.
It doesn't feel like actually fabrics.
So adding like a micro normal map on top of the base normal map to add more details. That's what you're saying, or
that would be one thing to do. But at the same time, I would recommend to incorporate more of the surface noise that you're trying to apply into the base color and get away from the normal overall. Transition more of the details to work with some shader specifics that are actually meant to work with fabrics. One example would be if you author snow textures. usually juniors always, or most people always do the same. They do the same base noise, which is like really granular, really fine, because they want to mimic how soft and like granular actually that snow is. And they just transport that normal map, which is ultra high frequency and has to be very strong in order to like even pick up that fine detail, because we're on a per pixel basis already. And then they don't work with translucency or subsurface scattering. So all we get is like a really grainy, really strong render, instead of that soft feel how light would interact with something that is like so small actually, because we have some kind of refraction and absorption going on. And this is your material currently not doing. It's like just opaque, you know?
Yeah.
Other than that, I think like the creativity part here is really cool. I like the design. I don't know how to say, it's kind of unusual and kind of nice to look at, and it doesn't feel repetitive, which makes it really cool to look at. And it's a nice detail, like it fits into this like old attic, maybe Victorian style. I don't know, it's cool.
Thank you.
Animate the flower patterns with Photoshop. Yeah, this is also very good. I'm usually saying to people, doing procedural shapes like these inside Designer is cool if you know how to do it, but at the same time, save yourself that time and sanity and just like do the alphas somewhere else where it's easier. But yeah, you showed your graph, you showed your textures. Generally speaking, you always try to give a breakdown of some kind, which is really cool. And it makes easier for any like recruiter to see how your workflow is, where you're paying attention to, and that you can also show like individual elements of your workflow and of your textures, without like, you know, you can make something look something good without being correctly about authoring them. You know, you can like post-process the shit out of it, and it looks good on the presentation, but it wouldn't look good when applied in a game. So giving breakdowns here is always very essential.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Surprisingly, we have the same thing again. Your noise is overall. I feel like this is actually a common pattern with your materials, and I feel like once you start addressing this more carefully, your materials will get an insane boost in quality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of hard without feedback to without professional feedback, because I have feedback from my friends. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to bring the material to the next quality is really hard, because you're looking to the references and it's pretty much the same, but
yeah,
I have to change something, but I don't know why, don't know what.
It really comes with experience. It's like in a production, it's very common that you're being addressed, or you're giving a task with a set of reference images, and you're working really closely on that reference, basically mimicking it, and it still doesn't work when put into the scene or applied to a model. And this usually comes down to some balancing tweaks. So we might see too few balancing in noise patterns. We might see too few balancing in luminance values, which can also be a quite big portion. And looking at things isolated always makes it a little bit hard to really see if it's working correctly. So given that you're putting this into scenes is good, but you just have to train your eye sooner or later to see what's going on here. Because quite the authoring and quite just the process of delivering the materials and building them up is obviously something you're good at. It's just about like the artistic experience that you're eventually growing into.
Okay.
Yes. By the way, I really like these camera angles here. This is something also a lot of people are not doing, which is giving their you could say, signature.
Yeah.
And I only see 2 artworks here so far, but it's already a pattern. Like you have a fixed camera angle and you have an idea of how to set dress your scenes with within given limits. Like we see similarities, and this is quite a good thing for you to save some time and also show that you really took some time to establish a good template that works for you and works for presenting your materials, which you can stick to.
Okay.
So for any future materials that can be rendered like this, I would recommend keep on doing this. It's a very good pattern.
Okay, thank you.
Right, just a short look into here. Oh, you recreated a painting in Unreal. So you're very proficient with Unreal, is that right?
Kinda, like it's been 3 years that I'm mainly focused on Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried many things like doing FX, cloud, rendering, fast tracing, shadowing. But yeah, it took much time, really much time. And I can't stay focused on one thing like textures. So
I see.
It was a question I was going to ask. Like for me, to get a job as soon as possible, what is the best thing to do? Like focus on the material and don't do too much layout or.
This can be answered by 2 directions. So, given that you're basically a generalist, and I would say your skill set and the quality is pretty good, being that you're a generalist with so many different topics. So one of the, usually I would say, like, stick to your horses, or stick to your guns, not stick to your horses. So follow whatever you're best at and follow for a reason that what makes you most fun, because you eventually have to spend a lot of time refining your shapes there. But seeing at your portfolio, I wouldn't say that you should specifically focus on something just because you're apparently good at everything. And depending on where you want to work, this is actually a trait that is highly needed.
Okay.
So we will see in the games industry rarely that there's a generalist position open. Like usually companies don't look for generalists. This is something that is like tied to indie or AA because the budget is lower and you need fewer people with a broader skill set to do several jobs. The higher you go in like company size and budget, the nichier like your skill set is going to be. Because people can afford hiring specialists. If we are now looking at this from like a film perspective or cinematic perspective, this is something different because in order to play a significant role in a team there, you have to be able to do different things and understand different topics. It's not enough to just, like, it depends. Sometimes you need specialists, but usually it's not enough to just be good at one thing. Because rarely cinematic studios are going to search for just material artists. Usually you have environment artists that are specialized in building scenes and they have ideas about how to technically author them, how to do textures, how to model, how to keep textile density, and so on. So I would say if you're going more into film, having a broader skill set, given how good you are already, is definitely the way to go, and you should pursue that in your portfolio as well and make clear that you're a generalist. You can say I'm focused in environment, that's cool, but be clear that you're a generalist because right now you're everything basically. But at the same time, you're talking about 3D art and lighting. So it's not very clear what your focus point is.
Okay,
you know?
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna think about that. It's really hard because I'm not really interested in only one position. Like I'm not all in environment art in video games. I'm kind of interested in pretty much everything. I just like want to work in a professional studio and meet people and learn new things. But I also need to focus on something to work, to be like more efficient and to have more quality and have more chance to be hired.
Yeah.
That's what I feel today.
So, honestly speaking, I think your portfolio is like a very good foundation of being interesting for any hiring.
Yeah.
Just because whatever you present, even though it's like a broad skill set, the quality is there. Like it gets clear that you have an idea how to do it and that you also have the artistic skills to do it. If you're now having trouble to really find a position and you're like in the urge of starting to work somewhere, I would give you the advice to start a new project or two, maybe, depending on how much time you can afford, and really go down a certain path of a given position. Let it be environment now, because this probably unifies the most versatility when you're crafting something. And make sure that you build a full scene, doing some modeling, doing some shading, doing the material stuff, and you really break down each step that you did from concept to workflow to execution and result. And make sure that these two new artworks you're going to present in your portfolio are, for once, being the uppermost left ones, so we know it's the most recent.
Yeah.
And they're also so well structured and good in quality and amount that whoever is going to look at this doesn't need to check more of your portfolio. They just go into the one artwork and be like, okay, I can see that person is able to do what we're searching for, right?
All right.
And I think you're actually doing this like already very good, but for now you're specifically trying to recreate something. Like that's more or less the pattern I can see here. You're recreating something, or you're working from a concept, which is like, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, you're doing a great job, but really concept your own scene, plan it out, and make like a diary. Like your artwork should contain a whole diary of your steps, of your progress, some like work in progress shots where the scene is slowly getting from like the block out to the final stage. Just be full transparent and like really detailed about what you do.
Okay, well, that's perfect because I'm currently working on two projects that are kind of unique.
Nice.
I want to say, like, not based in reference. And one is the large scene for the Punisher challenge, the Cam's Call.
For the Punisher challenge?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
great. I'm looking forward.
The other one is a basic gas kitchen. I think it's called in English. Professional gas kitchen with pan trying to catch realistic texture. So yeah, I'm good to hear from you that I'm going the good way.
I'm going to quickly send you that link here. I usually bring up that portfolio when I'm talking to students and they ask me like how to get my foot into the game industry.
Yeah.
And this is like a perfect example of a project that is very keen to what someone who's hiring is looking for. It's really clean, it's really detailed. It was made as a part of her bachelor thesis, or I think her whole bachelor thesis, so it's fair to say that this is like a huge amount of work put into. But you can really follow her steps, you can really follow her versatility, her thought process. Thousands of renders, thousands of explanations, and the lower we go, we actually have like a PDF. Like, what are the stages? What did I do? Why did I do this? And this is gold, because if I have to hire someone and I stumble upon like one of these artworks, there is nothing more to ask, because I get a whole breakdown of everything she or he is good at, and we can talk about this then in the interview, you know?
Yeah.
So this is like the gold standard. And what most people probably also get wrong is that you need a lot of these artworks or a lot of these projects. which can feel daunting, but actually you just need one. You just need that one that is able to showcase your skill set. And
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, good to know.
Right. Do you have any more questions? We're kind of over time, but it's not an issue.
I think we already answered my question. I think you already said it, but maybe what is the biggest issue with my book? Like, what is the thing that can be a kind of a red flag for recruiters?
Okay, let's go over the weak spots. This piece here, get rid of it. If you're hiring if you're applying with your portfolio, get rid of it. I know there's maybe some emotional part to it because given the time that you posted it could be one of the very first you posted, but it's not living up to what you do. It's unclear, it's unfinished. Like, get rid of that so people don't even stumble over this. This one was a little bit surprising to me because I just clicked into this. A few of the first renders here look very realistic. Like, with a little bit more post-processing, this could be very well a scene from a movie or a series where someone walks in, like green screen stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And in some other portions, like here, the render quality is really falling off. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't live up to how your light was back here.
Okay.
Therefore, I wouldn't say get rid of it, but rethink what you're trying to present, because we can see a lot of projects related to lighting. And you have like stronger ones in here. For example, your Fair Lady, and you have two like not so good ones here. Partially not so good ones. A few shots here are very good. The other ones are okay. And one thing I noticed with this project is that and that's important actually, giving that you should put your focus more to environment, at least temporarily. Here are a few things seemingly missing. I could be wrong, but I think the general set dressing is a little like unfinished, you would say. The lighting towards the centerpiece here is also not quite correct because we're getting like the illuminance on the, I don't know what it is exactly, like the stone structure here. This is highlighted, but your statue for some reason is not, even though that's the like main focal point of how you design the whole environment, you know. Or to put it differently, you could get rid of the stone structure here, work a little bit more on the set dressing, and the whole scene would look way more interesting.
To be honest, I have already retook it one time, so I think I'm just gonna remove from the book. But I don't know for you, like it is worse to keep the old project to see like the progression,
I think
like from where I started.
I think it's not working.
No,
I honestly think
you have to keep the best.
Move everything that you want to show as a progress to your blog, if you want to keep an idea of that. Like, you can actually mimic or duplicate your project into your blog, talk about it there, but your portfolio is your main application resource. Don't expect people to have like 5 minutes a day to check for several applicants to go through all these projects and directly understand your progression where you are right now. You need to be on spot presenting the second someone opens this up.
Okay. So for you, what prediction should I remove?
The very first one here should be removed.
Okay.
Maybe the shiny sides here, just because it's more of an artistic exploration rather than showing your skill. And maybe the sandstone ruins, just because just because the environment theme that you should be addressing.
Yeah.
It's cool, but it's not polished. It's unfinished. There should have gone more work into this, and this is important.
Okay, I totally agree.
Right. The rest is very good. Like, keep it that way. The structure is good. Right.
Okay.
Pro personal. Yeah. You could also think of, if you don't want to remove it, make sure that you organize your portfolio so that the landing page is going to be whatever is important to recruitants, and the other tabs contain your like personal work or older work. That would already explain more on should I even look at that or no.